There is a sacred rhythm beneath all things, a quiet hum that does not scream for your attention but waits patiently for your surrender. It is not heard through striving or achievement, nor discovered in noise or acclaim. It lives in stillness, in the hush between thoughts, in the pause between breaths. And it is there, in that gentle silence, that the universe whispers its eternal truths. We live in a world that celebrates noise, rewards speed, idolizes productivity. We have been conditioned to believe that we must be doing something, becoming someone, reaching for more to validate our worth. But the soul does not move at the pace of ambition. The soul moves like a river, quiet, steady, surrendered to gravity, and guided by something deeper than maps. The soul does not shout. It speaks in stillness. When you become still, you begin to hear that sacred voice, the one that has always been speaking beneath the chatter of your mind and the clamor of the world. It does not promise you glory. It does not offer fame. It offers something far more eternal, the remembrance of who you are. Be still. That's where the universe whispers, you are already whole. You are already loved. You are already enough. You were never meant to chase your worth. You were meant to remember it. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without noise. It is not the absence of movement, but the presence of awareness. Stillness is the meeting place between you and the divine, a sacred threshold where the false self dissolves and the real self, the eternal self, emerges in clarity and grace. In this space, you discover that peace is not something you find. Peace is something you become when you stop running from yourself. You realize that love is not something to be earned. Love is what you are when the walls fall down. And healing is not about fixing a broken self. Healing is the homecoming to the truth that you were never broken, only buried beneath the noise of forgetting. The ego will resist this. It will tell you that to be still is to fall behind, to lose momentum, to miss out. But the soul knows that nothing real can ever be missed. What is for you cannot pass you by. Life is not a race. It is a remembering. And in stillness, all that is real returns to you. Jesus wandered into the desert. Buddha sat beneath the tree. Rumi turned in circles until the world disappeared. And each of them found the same truth, that the kingdom of heaven, the enlightenment we seek, the peace we long for, is not out there. It is here. It is now. It is within. Be still. That's where the universe whispers, let go. Let go of the masks, the roles, the stories that no longer serve you. Let go of the identity you had to wear to survive. Let go of the past you keep dragging into the present. You do not need to carry it all. You were never meant to. There is a strength in surrender, a power in release. Stillness is not passivity. It is participation in the divine order. It is trusting the intelligence that blooms flowers without instruction, that spins planets without anxiety. It is the radical act of ceasing to force and beginning to flow. When you become still, you align with that intelligence, and life begins to move through you rather than around you. The mind will protest. It will crave distractions, clamor for answers, demand a strategy. But the soul does not speak in blueprints. It speaks in presence. It speaks in resonance. It guides not with logic, but with knowing. And you only access that knowing when you get quiet enough to hear it. Be still. That's where the universe whispers, trust. Trust that you are being guided. Trust that every detour, every delay, every unanswered prayer was part of a greater orchestration. Trust that even in your waiting, something holy is unfolding. There is a still place within you that no storm can touch. A sanctuary beneath the surface, a well of peace that does not dry with drought. And every time you return to it, you return to yourself. You are not what you produce. You are not what you prove. You are not what you possess. You are presence. You are light. You are love. And when you stop long enough to remember that, the illusion falls away. Do not fear the stillness. It is not your enemy. It is your invitation. An invitation to be rather than to do, to feel rather than to perform, to listen rather than to speak. It is there you remember that you are not separate from the divine, but a living extension of it. The Tao Te Ching says, silence is a source of great strength. And so at Island, in the silence you find not weakness, but the rootedness of the mountain, the depth of the ocean, the vastness of the sky. In silence you stop grasping and start receiving. In stillness you don't lose yourself, you find your true reflection. The world will keep spinning. Let it. You are not here to match its frenzy. You are here to embody its truth. You are not here to chase the wind. You are here to become the sky. And the sky does not clamor. The sky is simply island. So be still. That's where the universe whispers. And in that stillness, when the noise no longer defines you and the urgency of the world fades into the background, you begin to feel something ancient rising within a presence that is not bound by time, not tethered to roles, not concerned with appearances. It is the silent witness that has watched your life unfold with infinite compassion, never judging, only loving, always waiting for your return. This is not a new self you are discovering, it is the self you forgot, the one you abandoned when you learned the language of comparison, when you first believed that you were not enough as you are. The deeper you enter the silence, the clearer the truth becomes. You were never lost, you were distracted, you were never unworthy, you were conditioned, you were never broken. You were burdened by beliefs that were never yours to begin with. You begin to see with new eyes, not the eyes of fear, but the eyes of soul. You look at yourself not through the lens of flaws and failures, but through the sacred gaze of truth. And in that gaze, there is no need to fix, only to love, to embrace, to remember. This remembering does not come through effort. It comes through surrender. It does not demand that you climb a mountain, but that you descend into yourself, into the heart of being, where the divine does not hide in distant heavens, but whispers softly from within your very breath. When you stop searching for signs and begin to trust the subtle warmth that rises when you align with peace, you will know this is it. This is the voice I've been running from and yearning for all at once. Stillness is the great revealer. It shows you what is real by stripping away what is not. It unveils the sacred in the simple, the holy in the ordinary. You begin to understand that enlightenment is not found in distant temples, but in washing the dishes with presence, in listening to the wind without trying to capture it, in feeling your feet against the earth as if you are finally home. And you are home. Not in a place, but in a presence. The presence of you, the real you, the eternal you. You realize now that there is nothing to chase. The idea that happiness is somewhere else dissolves like fog under the morning Sunday. What a relief it is to stop running, to no longer perform, to no longer seek love like a beggar hoping to be seen. Because now you see yourself, and that seeing is healing. That seeing is enough. You don't need the world to applaud your being when your own soul has already whispered, you are good. And the more you listen to that whisper, the louder it becomes, not in volume, but in certainty. The doubts begin to fade, not because they are resolved, but because they are irrelevant. You no longer need to defend your existence. You no longer need to prove your path. You walk in quiet confidence, not because you have answers, but because you are at peace with the mystery. You know now that not knowing is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is space, it is surrender. Let every breath remind you of this. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to become no one, to release the masks, the expectations, the self-constructed cages. And in the space where the persona fades, presence remains. And presence is not an act, it is your truth, unclothed, unashamed, untamed. It does not shrink to fit roles nor expand to earn praise. It's simply island. And in that isness, you find freedom. Not the freedom the world promises, the kind built on conditions and constantly at risk of being lost, but the freedom of the soul, the freedom to be still while life moves around you, the freedom to feel deeply without drowning, the freedom to exist without explanation. And in this space, something sacred blooms, a love that is not attached, a joy that is not circumstantial, a strength that is soft yet unshakable. You begin to feel the rhythm of the universe pulsing through your veins, not because you chased it down, but because you finally sat still long enough for it to rise. And it does rise. It always rises. Just as the tide returns to the shore, just as the sun bows and rises again. This rhythm has never stopped beating in you. It only waited for you to become quiet enough to notice. So let this moment be your turning point. Not a dramatic shift, but a soft unfolding. The petals of a flower do not rush to open, and yet they bloom. You too are blooming, not by doing, but by being. Not by striving, but by surrendering to the truth that you are not the gardener, you are the garden. And the divine is not outside you, orchestrating from afar. It is within you, singing in your stillness, whispering in your roots. Be still, not because the world demands your silence, but because your soul is longing to speak. And when you listen, truly listen, you will hear not a voice outside you, but a resonance from within, a sacred hum that reminds you, you are not a visitor in this life. You are the life itself. You are not a fleeting name. You are the timeless now. You are not a seeker. You are what is sought. And in that knowing, everything changes. Not the world, but your way of walking through it. You become a presence, a light, a breath of peace in a world that forgot how to exhale. You become a mirror, not reflecting appearances, but revealing truth. Not because you become something more, but because you've returned to what you never ceased to be. And so you walk not ahead of yourself into some imagined future, nor backward into the ruins of memory, but right here in this moment that holds eternity in its hands. You walk not to arrive somewhere new, but to sink more deeply into where you already are. Each step becomes a prayer, not of longing, but a presence, not a reaching, but a rejoicing. The earth rises to meet your feet, and with every breath, the sky bows to witness your awakening. You notice now that everything is speaking to you. The rustle of leaves is no longer just wind, it is guidance. The silence between words becomes revelation. The tears that fall in the quiet are not signs of weakness, but of sacred release. You are no longer trying to escape your humanity. You are embodying it reverently, fully, with the awe of one who realizes that flesh and spirit are not enemies, but companions in this holy dance of existence. No longer do you see the ego as a villain to be conquered. You see it for what it is, a frightened child dressed in armor, longing to be held. And so you hold it, not to indulge it, but to liberate it. You no longer wage war against your fears. You sit with them. You listen to them like elders who have long been misunderstood. And in your listening, the edges soften. The inner battleground becomes a garden again. And the parts of you that once fought for dominance now bow to the peace that comes from integration. You realize now that stillness is not just a moment, it is a way of being. A return to the natural rhythm of the soul, the pause before the answer, the breath before the leap, the silence that underlies every word, every thought, every heartbeat. And it is in that silence that your true power resides, not in force, not in noise, not in effort, but in the quiet certainty that you are aligned with something infinite, something eternal, something utterly unshaken by the turbulence of the world. This power does not control, it allows. It trusts the unfolding even when the path curves into darkness. It knows that the light has not left. It has only moved inward, into the marrow, into the mystery, into the sacred unknown where transformation takes root. You begin to understand that darkness is not the opposite of light. It is its cradle, the womb from which new life emerges, the night that teaches you to see with the eyes of the soul. And so you welcome the darkness, not as punishment, but as invitation. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But instead whisper, what is this awakening in me? And in that question, you no longer feel alone. You feel accompanied by presence, by grace, by a love so vast it does not need to be named. A love that does not rescue you from pain, but walks with you through it, whispering, this too is sacred. You are no longer afraid to feel, because feeling is how the soul speaks. Joy, sorrow, longing, wonder, each one a sacred language, each one a portal into greater wholeness. You no longer numb yourself with distractions because you no longer believe that your emotions are enemies. You hold them like sacred messengers and they respond not with fury but with truth. And in their truth you are softened, not broken, softened. And in that softness you find strength deeper than steel. Your life becomes an offering not of perfection but of presence. You stop trying to perform your divinity and instead you live it quietly, authentically, in the small acts. A kind glance, a patient breath, a silent prayer as you walk through a crowded room. These moments are no longer insignificant, they are sacraments. Your ordinary life becomes holy, not by changing it, but by seeing it through the lens of the eternal. And when storms come as they will, you no longer panic. You no longer grasp for anchors outside yourself, because you have found the anchor within. You have discovered that calm is not the absence of chaos, it is the unwavering presence of the soul amidst it. You can lose the job, the relationship, the plan, and still not be lost. Because your center is no longer external. It is rooted in stillness, in being, in truth. You are no longer swayed by applause or blame, no longer manipulated by fear or praise, because you have tasted the peace that comes from alignment. And once you have tasted that peace, you will never again settle for the counterfeit comfort of ego. You will no longer betray your soul for the approval of the crowd. You will walk in authenticity even if it means walking alone. But in truth, you are never alone. For in that stillness, you are accompanied by all who have ever remembered their divine essence. You are not just one person healing. You are part of a great remembrance, a global rising, a quiet revolution of awakened hearts choosing presence over performance, choosing love over fear, choosing stillness over noise. You are a cell in the body of a new humanity, a thread in the great tapestry of transformation. And every time you return to stillness, the entire world breathes a little easier because your peace contributes to the whole. Your light illumines the path for others. So be still, not just as an act, but as a way of living. Let your stillness be your power. Let your presence be your message. Let your being be your legacy. You are not here to outrun yourself. You are here to inhabit yourself fully, courageously, tenderly. And as you continue to dwell in this sacred space of inner quiet, a new awareness dawns, not as a thought, but as a knowing. It is the gentle revelation that nothing in your life has been wasted. No detour has been meaningless, no tear shed in vain. Every heartbreak has softened the soil of your being. Every disappointment has carved space for something greater. Every unanswered prayer was a redirection, not away from love, but deeper into it. Into a love that is not transactional, not earned, but intrinsic, eternal, yours, simply because you are. You see now that life has never been punishing you, it has been polishing you, smoothing away the illusions, chiseling away the lies, sculpting you back to your essence. And every moment of stillness is a return to that essence, a coming home without leaving, a pilgrimage not of miles but of surrender. You are not on a path to find something. You are on a path to dissolve what you are not until only what is true remains. And what is true cannot be taken. It cannot be lost. It cannot be improved. It's simply island. It is the awareness behind your eyes, the peace beneath your pain, the presence that watches the mind dance in the heartache and yet remains untouched. Untouched but deeply compassionate. Untouched but infinitely engaged. This is the paradox of the soul, unmoved by circumstances yet moved by love. You begin to understand that freedom was never about changing your conditions, it was about changing your relationship to them. Stillness teaches you this not with lectures but with silence. In stillness, you stop trying to make life conform to your will and begin to harmonize with its flow. And what was once resistance becomes receptivity. What was once tension becomes grace. You do not need to hold everything together. The soul is not asking you to be strong in the way the world defines strength. It is asking you to be open, soft, present, to cry when the tears rise, to dance when the joy bubbles over, to rest when the body calls for stillness. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is the way of the Tao, the way of the divine feminine, the way of the surrendered heart that trusts not in control but in connection. And from that connection flows clarity. Not the clarity that maps out every step, but the kind that illuminates just enough for this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. You begin to live one sacred breath at a time, no longer rushing to the next, no longer afraid of the unknown. Because you know now that the unknown is not a void, it is a womb, the birthplace of new possibilities, the place where miracles incubate. Stillness becomes your sanctuary. Not a place you visit, but a state you return to again and again until it becomes your natural home. You find that you can be still even in motion, still even in conversation, still even in the midst of change. Because stillness is not about the absence of activity, it is about the presence of awareness. You can answer the phone, attend the meeting, tend to your children, and still be deeply anchored in presence. And this anchoring, this living from the center becomes your new way of being. It does not mean life becomes perfect. It means you no longer need it to be. You no longer measure your worth by your circumstances. You no longer fear uncertainty. You dance with it. You no longer resist endings. You bless them. You no longer grasp at beginnings. You receive them. This is what it means to be truly free, not free from, but free within. Not freedom granted by the world, but freedom gifted by the soul. It is a quiet liberation, a gentle revolution. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard, because it is spoken in the language of peace. And now, beloved, you begin to realize that your very being is enough, that your presence is a gift, that your existence is holy not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. You do not need to earn your place in the world. You already belong. You do not need to chase love. You already are it. You do not need to prove your value. You are woven from the fabric of divinity itself. Let this truth settle into your bones. Let it seep into the corners of your being that once doubted, once feared, once begged for affirmation. Let it wash over you like a blessing, not from outside, but from within. The blessing of remembrance, the blessing of presence, the blessing of stillness. Because now, in this space where silence speaks louder than all your former striving, you finally begin to feel how sacred it is just to exist. Not to achieve, not to prove, not to accomplish, but simply to exist. You understand now that the miracle is not what you do with your life. The miracle is that you are life. That breath, that heartbeat, that mysterious awareness behind your eyes, that is the miracle you've been searching for in distant places, not knowing it has always been the very substance of your being. And oh, the relief of it. The relief of laying down the weight you were never meant to carry. The identities you performed, the standards you chased, the constant reaching to be more than what you already are. They fall away now, like leaves from an autumn tree, returning to the earth, making room for something softer, truer, quieter to emerge. You become like the tree, rooted, patient, without panic. You trust the seasons now. You trust that even when all seems bare, something sacred is happening in the unseen. You no longer curse the winter, for you know the stillness it brings is not death. It is preparation. It is renewal. It is the deep work of the soul, invisible to the eye, but felt by the heart that has learned to wait without fear. You begin to honor your own winters, the quiet seasons, the empty spaces, the pauses between stories. You stop trying to skip over them. You stop demanding that every day be harvest. You let yourself rest. You let yourself be. And in that rest, you discover not stagnation, but healing. Not failure, but foundation. Not absence, but presence. The world may not see this as progress, but the soul does not measure by productivity. The soul measures by presence, by alignment, by love. And in the economy of the soul, stillness is the greatest abundance. Peace is the highest currency. And love, the quiet, unconditional love of presence, is the only goal that ever mattered. From this place, you no longer need to find your purpose, it finds you. Not in a flash of fireworks, but in the soft unfolding of your being. Purpose is not a task to complete. It is a presence to embody. It is not found in effort, but in authenticity. When you live aligned with your soul, everything you do becomes an expression of purpose, even the smallest acts. A look, a word, a touch, a silence. Nothing is wasted when it is rooted in presence. You become the lighthouse. You no longer chase the boats. You no longer scream into the storm. You simply shine steady and soft and trust that those meant to see you will find their way. Not because you reached for them, but because you stood in your truth. And this standing is not rigid. It is not defiant. It is open, receptive, grounded in love. Your life becomes a quiet beacon, not demanding attention, but offering sanctuary. Not seeking validation, but inviting remembrance. And those who cross your path may not always know what changed, but they will feel it. They will feel your stillness. And in feeling it, they will begin to remember their own. Because stillness is contagious, peace is magnetic, presence is medicine. And when you carry that within you, the world around you softens. Not because you changed it, but because you changed your relationship with it. You no longer see through the lens of separation. You see with the eyes of unity, of oneness, of soul. And in this vision, even your pain becomes sacred. Even your past becomes a passage. You bless it not because it was easy, but because it brought you here. Every scar becomes a doorway. Every wound becomes a teacher. Every moment of brokenness becomes another layer of your wholeness unfolding. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time for the blossoming of your true self. The self that does not grasp, but gives. The self that does not perform, but embodies. The self that does not resist life, but flows with it. The self that does not fear endings, for it knows that every ending is a sacred re-beginning in disguise. So breathe now, deeply, with reverence. Let the breath remind you that you are not striving to get somewhere. You are arriving right here in this breath again and again. Each inhale a homecoming, each exhale a release, each moment a holy invitation to remember, to soften, to listen. Listen, beloved. Not to the voice of fear, not to the mind's old stories, but to the still sacred whisper beneath it all. The whisper that does not change with your moods. The whisper that does not judge, does not push, does not demand. It only waits. It waits for your presence, and when you offer it, it gives you everything. That whisper is the voice of God within you, the echo of eternity that says, you are already home. You are already love. You are already free. Because here, at the end of all the seeking, the striving, the spiraling out into the world and back again, you find yourself where you began not in ignorance, but in deeper knowing. Not in the confusion of identity, but in the clarity of essence. You began this journey believing there was something to earn, someone to become, somewhere to get. But now you know there was never a destination, there was only this moment, this breath, this presence. All the noise, all the effort, all the reaching it was the chrysalis. And now in this stillness, the wings unfold, not with force, not with fanfare, but with grace, quietly, inevitably, like the dawn, like the tide, like the soul remembering its own name after lifetimes of forgetting. And as you rise not above the world, but within it, you carry something more precious than answers. You carry a light, not the blinding light of ego, but the gentle glow of presence. The kind of light that warms without burning, guides without forcing, heals without needing applause. You become the quiet companion to your own being. You no longer abandon yourself. You no longer betray your inner knowing for outer approval. You understand now that life was never asking you to be perfect. It was asking you to be whole. And wholeness does not mean polished. It means integrated. It means loving the parts of yourself that once frightened you. It means embracing the shadows not as flaws, but as portals to deeper light. You are not here to escape your humanity. You are here to sanctify it with your attention, with your compassion, with your stillness. And so you return again and again to this sacred place, the space within where the universe whispers, not because it is dramatic, but because it is true. It is the only thing that has ever been true. The silence that holds you, the presence that knows you, the love that does not leave. Even when the world shouts, you listen inward. Even when fear beckons, you walk with trust. Even when doubt clouds your vision, you remember the light never left, it only waited. Like the sun behind the clouds, like peace behind the noise, like truth behind the mask. So now as you stand in this final moment, know this not with your mind, but with your whole being. You are not broken, you are breaking open. You are not separate, you are a wave returning to its ocean. You are not your name, your story, your striving. You are the stillness that watches it all and remains unchanged. You are not becoming, you are unveiling. You are not lost, you are being led home. And home is not a place, it is a presence. It is a state of remembrance where everything you thought you needed dissolves and all that is left is love. Pure, unbound, unconditional. The love that made you, the love that is you. So rest here now in this stillness, in this silence, in this truth that asks nothing of you except that you stop running and remember. This is not the end, this is the return. And in your return, the whole universe breathes a little deeper. Because you remembered, because you listened, because you were still. And that's where the universe whispers, welcome home. There is a voice within you, a quiet, unrelenting whisper that does not speak in the language of logic or fear or doubt. It speaks in the frequency of joy, in the pulse of excitement, in the sacred electricity that shivers up your spine when you imagine something greater, something truer, something that calls to you not with words but with feeling. That whisper is not a whim. It is not a distraction. It is not a fleeting desire to be brushed away by responsibility or the weary chance of someday. That whisper is the universe itself, inviting you back to alignment. Your highest excitement is not a luxury. It is your compass. It is not the indulgence of a restless mind. It is the signature of your soul. That which excites you most deeply, most sincerely, is not random. It is revelation. It is the way life reveals where your path is waiting, already prepared, already sacred, already humming with the energy of your purpose. But so often we silence it, we bargain it away for security, we drown it in the voices of others. We tell ourselves it must wait until we have permission, until we've earned our worth, until the world gives us a sign. But here is the truth, the sign is already within you, and it always has been. Rumi once said, respond to every call that excites your spirit. He didn't say respond to every call that makes sense. He didn't say respond to every call that is approved by your parents or validated by society. He said respond to what excites your spirit, because your spirit knows. It always has. And when you follow that thread of joy, it will lead you not away from life, but deeper into it, into the life that was always meant for you. Not the one you were taught to survive, but the one you came here to live. The ego fears the unknown. It clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. But the soul rejoices in expansion. It yearns to grow. It hungers to express itself freely, vividly, uniquely. And it does so not through force or pressure or obligation, but through what excites it. When you follow your excitement, you align with the intelligence of the universe itself. You stop trying to push the river, and you begin to float with it. Doors open, not because you fought for them, but because you arrived with the key, the frequency of your joy. There is no randomness to this calling. That which lights you up is not a coincidence. It is communication. It is life through you, as you, calling you home. And yet, we hesitate. We wait. We ask for more proof. But the soul doesn't offer guarantees. It offers guidance. Not through maps, but through music, through rhythm, through resonance. And your job is not to control the path, but to respond to the music. Your highest excitement is not the end goal. It is the next step. It is the green light at the next breath, the soft nudge towards something that enlivens you, expands you, deepens your aliveness. And as you take that step without needing to know the whole staircase, more of the path is revealed. This is how the universe works, not by outlines and blueprints, but by synchronicity and vibration, by response, by trust. You show up in your joy, and life meets you there. But to follow your highest excitement, you must release the grip of who you thought you had to be. You must be willing to disappoint the expectations of others to fulfill the calling of your soul. You must understand that the path of truth often looks nothing like the path of convention, and that is exactly what makes it holy. Every moment offers you a choice: alignment or agreement, truth or comfort, expansion or stagnation. When you choose your highest excitement, you are choosing to live as a co-creator, not a reactor. You are choosing to trust the divinity within you more than the opinions around you. You are choosing to live from your soul, not just in service to the world, but as an expression of the divine itself. This is not selfish, it is sacred. Because the more alive you are, the more life you bring to the world. The more lit you are by joy, the more you illuminate others. You are not here to shrink, you are here to shine. And you shine most brightly when you are doing what brings you most alive. You have been taught that life is a duty, not a dance. That purpose is pain, not passion. That the divine is found in suffering, not in joy. But I tell you this, the universe did not place you here to be a cog in a machine. It placed you here to be a vessel of light. And that light is not found in your performance, it is found in your presence. Your highest excitement is not a detour, it is your direction. And the moment you begin to trust it, truly trust it, your life will begin to rearrange itself in ways your mind could never predict. Synchronicities will appear, support will emerge, and the impossible will begin to feel inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting what was always meant to be. Follow what excites you, even if it scares you. Follow what expands you, even if it challenges you. Follow what feels true, even if it asks you to leave behind what no longer island, because your freedom lies on the other side of that yes. Not the yes you give to please others, but the yes you give to the soul, to the whisper, to the dance, to the fire that flickers quietly beneath your ribs, waiting, just waiting for you to say, I remember. And when you say yes to that, everything begins. You were never meant to trade your radiance for routine. You were never meant to dull your glow to become acceptable. The oak tree does not apologize for growing tall. The sun does not shrink for the comfort of shadows. You were made to rise not through striving, but by simply allowing the light within you to lead. There is a rhythm beneath the chaos of the world, a quiet hum that lives below the surface of your thoughts. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it doesn't compete. It waits patiently, lovingly. It is the rhythm of your soul's true desire. And every time you listen to your highest excitement, you tune back into that divine rhythm. You dance again with the universe. You become the music instead of just the movement. And yet, there is a part of you that clings. It clings to the known, to the secure, to the rehearsed life you've built on borrowed beliefs. This is the ego's lullaby, a song of smallness disguised as logic. But logic can never hold the immensity of your being. No spreadsheet can account for your joy. No resume can capture your soul's longing. Your spirit does not speak in bullet points. It speaks in goosebumps, in tears that arrive without warning, in breathless awe, in moments when time vanishes and only presence remains. These are not distractions. They are breadcrumbs, clues from the infinite guiding you home. To follow your highest excitement is not to abandon reason, but to remember trust. Trust in the unseen intelligence that shaped galaxies without blueprints. Trust in the same energy that causes birds to migrate and stars to explode in beauty. That force lives in you. And when you say yes to your joy, you say yes to that power flowing through you unimpeded. But this path is not without its illusions. The world may call you foolish. It may label your excitement as irresponsible, immature, or naive. But those voices are not speaking from truth. They speak from fear. Fear of what cannot be controlled. Fear of what cannot be predicted. But your soul did not come here to be predictable. It came to be real. And realness, that sacred, trembling honesty, is the gateway to freedom. You do not have to justify what brings you alive. You do not need permission to be what you already are. The daffodil needs no approval to bloom. The waterfall seeks no validation to plunge freely into the abyss. Why then do you hesitate? Why then do you ask the sleeping world to bless your awakening? The only blessing you need is already within you. It is felt every time your chest opens with awe, every time your hands move in creative devotion, every time your body tingles with possibility. That feeling is your alignment with Source. That feeling is a divine speaking through you, saying, this is it, right here, right now, more of this. But you must choose it. Again and again, in 1,000 small moments, you must choose the path of expansion over the path of convenience. You must be willing to outgrow your old life, to shed the skin of who you were in order to reveal who you are becoming. Not because the old was wrong, but because it is complete. You are not abandoning yourself, you are ascending into yourself. And in this ascension, there will be grief. Not the grief of loss, but of transformation. A holy ache as you loosen your grip on what no longer resonates. A sacred tenderness as you watch the familiar dissolve. To make space for the infinite. This too is part of the journey. Let it come. Let it cleanse. Let it strip away everything that is not rooted in truth. And what remains will astonish you. Not because it is grand, but because it is real. Not because it is loud, but because it is you, unmasked, undiluted, undisturbed by the need to become. You will begin to see with different eyes. You will notice the texture of life, the subtle beauty of the wind, the soft intelligence in every leaf, the poetry etched into the lines of your own palms. Everything begins to feel connected because it always was. You just weren't still enough to see it. Your highest excitement will lead you here to this deepening, this remembering, this sacred noticing. And from this place, you don't need to chase success. You become successful in your being. You don't need to manufacture meaning. You exude it through your presence. You don't need to search for love. You radiate it effortlessly from the center of your essence. What once felt like effort now becomes flow. What once required motivation now arises as inspiration. What once felt separate now returns to the whole. Let yourself be led by what stirs you. Let your feet wander where your heart has always wanted to go. Let your days become a string of soul yeses. And if you ever wonder what to do next, what choice to make, what step to take, ask yourself with reverent honesty, what would thrill me most if I trusted the universe completely? And then do that. What would it look like to truly trust? To surrender, not in resignation, but in reverence. To place your life not as a burden to be carried, but as a song to be sung by the wind of divine impulse. You see, your highest excitement is not random. It is orchestrated by the same silent architect that paints galaxies with light. It is the language of the infinite, translated into emotion. It is the echo of the divine whispering, this way, this way. And the more you listen, the more you find that life is not a maze to be solved. It is a melody to be remembered. You are not here to figure everything out. You are not here to earn your right to be alive. You are not here to get it right. You are here to feel your way back to what is real. And what is real is what enlivens you without reason. What is real is what moves through you like breath that was never yours to begin with. But the world has taught you otherwise. It has taught you that logic is the master, that safety is the goal, that joy is the reward at the end of exhaustion. And so you've performed, you've conformed, you've worn the mask with such devotion that you forgot you were ever born free. And now, in this moment, the invitation returns. The sacred invitation to step off the stage of approval and back into the wilderness of your being. Do you remember how it felt before the world told you who to be? When you danced because you had to, not because someone was watching? When you spoke to the sky and trusted it was listening? When you followed your impulses, not because they were practical, but because they were true? That part of you is not gone. It is not dead. It has simply been waiting for this breath, this willingness, this crack in the wall you've built around your authenticity. And through that crack, light is seeping in. Not the blinding light of ambition, but the soft glow of remembering. The soul does not want a plan, it wants presence. It does not ask for credentials. It asks for courage, the courage to follow the thread of what feels right, even when it doesn't yet make sense. Especially then, because in that not knowing, something ancient awakens, the deeper self, the eternal self, the self that was never wounded, never lost, never separate. This is not about abandoning your life. It is about embodying it more fully, bringing your essence into every action, your joy into every moment, your truth into every choice. Even the small ones, especially the small ones, you begin to dress not for attention, but as an expression of your spirit. You begin to eat not out of habit, but in communion with your body. You begin to speak not to fill silence, but to honor it. And in doing so, every aspect of your life becomes sacred. This is the power of living from your highest excitement, not that you escape the world, but that you illuminate it with the light of your presence. And yes, the old will rise, the doubts, the habits, the conditioned voices that say, this is too much, you are too much, stay small, stay safe. But you no longer have to believe them. You can greet them with compassion, but not compliance. You can say to them, thank you for trying to protect me. But I am no longer interested in surviving. I am here to thrive. Because thriving is not a luxury, it is your nature. When a flower blooms, it does not apologize for outgrowing the bud. When a bird flies, it does not mourn the shell it left behind, and neither should you. You are not betraying your past by evolving, you are fulfilling its promise. And as you follow your highest excitement, something extraordinary happens. The path you once feared begins to feel like home. The uncertainty you once resisted becomes the very space where miracles unfold. You realize you were never lost, you were only layered, and now, one by one, those layers fall away. Not in violence, but in grace. Not in force, but in surrender. And underneath it all, you discover the one who never stopped waiting, the one who never gave up, the one who knew beyond all appearances that something beautiful was on its way. You, not the version of you crafted for the world, but the version that was crafted by the stars. So walk now, not quickly, not urgently, but reverently. Every step you take in the direction of your highest joy is an offering. Every breath you draw in alignment is a prayer answered before it was even spoken. And every act of authenticity, no matter how small, is a revolution. Because when one soul dares to live freely, it gives permission for others to do the same. Let your life be that permission. Let your laughter be that permission. Let your tears, your dance, your silence, your art be that sacred reminder that it is not only possible to follow your highest excitement, it is the very reason you were born. There is a sacred intelligence that lives within the quiet nudges, the unexplained longings, the magnetic pull towards something you've never quite named but have always known. It is not logic, it is not thought. It is not born from calculation. It is born from resonance. It stirs in the space before the thought, in the shiver before the action, and it is the map etched not on paper, but in the pulse of your own becoming. To walk in alignment with your highest excitement is to live in partnership with mystery. It is to release your demand for certainty and instead develop a taste for wonder. Wonder is not naivete, it is reverence for life, unfolding as it was always meant to. Wonder is how the soul breathes. And when you follow your joy without demanding that it prove itself first, you make space for wonder to guide your steps. You are not here to replicate the patterns that have been passed down to you. You are here to interrupt them with love. You are here to awaken dormant dreams not only in yourself, but in those who have forgotten how to dream. There is no act more revolutionary than choosing to live in joy amidst a culture of complaint. No gesture more holy than to wake up in the morning and decide, today I will follow what makes me feel alive. The world does not need more strategies, it needs more souls who are lit from within, more beings who choose integrity over imitation, alignment over achievement, presence over performance. And you become such a being not through force, but through surrender, through listening, through honoring the voice that calls not from above, but from within. And yes, there will be moments of resistance, not because you are broken, but because you are brushing against the edges of your conditioning. Growth is not always a blaze of inspiration. Sometimes it is a quiet unraveling. Sometimes it is sitting in the discomfort of not knowing who you are without your old fears. Sometimes it is pausing long enough to feel what you spent a lifetime avoiding. But make no mistake, this is progress. This is evolution. This is sacred shedding. And in the shedding, what emerges is not new, it is true. It is the self that existed before the world told you who to be. The self that does not seek validation because it remembers it was born valid. The self that does not beg for love because it knows it is made of it. That self is not a distant goal. It is a presence already within you, waiting not for your effort but for your openness, not for your striving but for your softening. When you follow what excites you most, you do not escape responsibility, you expand your responsibility. You become more capable of presence, of contribution, of love, because you are no longer drained by the internal war of living a life that is not yours. You begin to give not from depletion, but from overflow. You serve not from duty, but from delight. And from that place, everything becomes sacred. The conversations you once rushed through become containers of healing. The mundane tasks you used to resent become acts of devotion. The body you once judged becomes a temple of sensation, a vessel through which life gets to be felt, experienced, revered. You are not here to run through your days like a list of chores. You are here to feel your way through them like a symphony. And the melody that guides you is your joy, unforced, unfiltered, unapologetically yours. Do not mistake this path for comfort. It is not about being coddled. It is about being called. Called into a life that demands your presence, your courage, your honesty. Called into a deeper encounter with yourself. And from that encounter, you do not emerge with answers. You emerge with aliveness. And aliveness is the proof. Aliveness is the reward. Aliveness is the moment you look around and realize you are no longer surviving your life, you are inhabiting it. You are no longer waiting for peace, you are breathing it. You are no longer searching for signs, you are becoming one. You are the signal you've been waiting for. You are the permission you've been seeking. You are the unfolding. And so, follow what enlivens you, not with urgency, but with devotion. Not as a detour, but as your direction. Not because it makes sense, but because it makes you again and again, in every breath, in every step, in every quiet choice, to trust what the world cannot yet see. The mind will ask, what if I fail? But the soul knows there is no such thing. There is only the unfolding of experience, only the refining fire of risk, only the alchemy of showing up not with answers, but with authenticity. What the world calls failure, the soul recognizes as expansion. A detour is never wasted when it brings you closer to truth. A stumble is not a mistake when it deepens your humility and widens your compassion. To follow your highest excitement is to make peace with the unknown, not to conquer it, but to fall in love with it. To learn how to live not at the edges of certainty, but in the open field where miracles are still possible. You begin to realize that joy is not found at the end of the road, it is the road. Every moment lived in alignment is a destination unto itself. Every choice made from truth is a fulfillment of your purpose. And what is your purpose? It is not a single act. It is not a role to perform or a job to secure. Your purpose is presence. Your purpose is the full embodiment of your being, expressed moment by moment in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you love, the way you create. Your purpose is not a point on a map. It is the radiance that lights the entire path. So let go of the myth that you must find it elsewhere. It is already within you, woven into the fabric of your aliveness. And the way you access it is to follow the golden thread of your excitement. There is a place in you where the divine sings without words, a place untouched by time, unburdened by fear. This place does not care what others think of you. It does not ask how much money you've earned, how many likes you've gathered, how many accolades decorate your story. This place only cares, are you awake, are you listening? Are you honoring the frequency of your own becoming? And if the answer is yes, even once, even for a moment, you will feel it, the expansion, the breathlessness of truth, the holy trembling of being so utterly present that you forget how to pretend. You see, pretending is what keeps the world asleep. Pretending to be okay when your heart aches. Pretending to be certain when you're full of wonder. Pretending to fit in when your soul longs to stand out. And what breaks the spell of this sleep is not resistance, but realness. A single act of honesty can unravel years of self-abandonment. A single moment of true excitement can realign you with the very reason you came here. You did not come here to impress. You came here to express. You did not come here to endure. You came here to embody. You did not come here to survive. You came here to remember who you are, where you come from, and why your joy matters. And it does matter, not just to you, but to the whole. Because your joy is not separate from the fabric of existence, it is the fabric. When you honor it, you uplift the vibration of everything. You become a tuning fork for the cosmos, a living, breathing affirmation that the divine is not only real, it is here, it is now, it is you. So speak your truth, not because it is safe, but because it is sacred. Walk your path, not because it is easy, but because it is yours. And trust your joy, not because it promises ease, but because it never lies. Joy is the language of alignment. It is the signature of yes. It is the signpost that you are not lost, you are being led. Led not by the hand of fate, but by the heart of your own being. So if the way forward is unclear, don't panic, don't grasp, don't fall back into the comfort of misalignment. Instead, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, not with desperation, but with reverence, what feels most alive for me now? What feels like truth, like freedom, like a door waiting to be opened from the inside? And then walk through it, even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake. Walk through it as if the whole universe is watching, because at Island, and not with judgment, but with joy. Joy that you are beginning to remember. Joy that you are choosing life not as it was taught to you, but as it was meant to be lived. Then let us bring this sacred current home, not with an ending, but with a return to that eternal place within you that never left, never changed, never stopped waiting. For in truth, every step of this journey, the longing, the hesitation, the awakening, the release, has not been about adding to who you are, but subtracting everything that is not you. Like a sculptor who chisels away the stone, not to create the statue, but to reveal it. What you have been seeking is not a life you must earn, but a truth you must allow. You are not becoming, you are uncovering. And what is revealed in the light of your highest excitement is a being so luminous, so sovereign, so perfectly aligned that even the stars pause to listen. This being is not a future self. It is not a fantasy. It is you right now, without the masks, without the tension, without the exile from your own joy. There is a softness in this truth, a mercy that asks for nothing but your presence. The world may demand performance, but the soul simply asks you to be. And in that being, something opens not outside, but within, a door you never saw, leading to a place you've never left. And when you step through that inner door, when you say yes not just to the idea of your excitement, but to its embodiment, you become the path. You no longer walk toward alignment, you become its living expression. You speak and the air responds. You move and the moment expands to meet you. You stop searching for the divine and begin to realize you are walking as it. Let every breath be your permission. Let every heartbeat be your guide. Let every whisper of joy be a sacred directive from the infinite. And know this, beloved soul, the life you were born to live has been waiting for you, not at the end of effort, but at the beginning of trust. The universe has never stopped conspiring in your favor. It only needed you to say yes to the real, the wild, the luminous self that never forgot why it came. You are not here to walk a borrowed path. You are not here to repeat old stories. You are here to become the living poem your soul wrote before you were born. You are here to be so full of yourself that the world remembers how to breathe again. Follow your highest excitement, not as a strategy, but as a sacrament. Let it lead you where logic cannot. Let it break the rules of smallness and ignite the holiness of your presence. For what could be more sacred than a life fully lived? And so now, as you listen to the rhythm of your own breath, as you feel the stillness that has settled around this moment, know this: nothing more needs to be found. No more signs, no more striving, only this truth. The signal has always been joy, and it has always pointed right back to you. Welcome home.